My name is Anita Sharma and I welcome you again on INKPOTHUB Media. Today I'm going to interact with someone who had zero interest in writing research papers after his PhD. And then in last 9 years, he turned into a star researcher. His papers have been viewed more than 1 lakh times, and currently he is working with the University of Puerto Rico. A professor, a practitioner who writes practice-oriented research papers, who build theories, who has written 5 books and 3 best-selling cases, who holds a title of Distinguished Scholar with IIM-K code, and recently turned into the editor-in-chief of one of our leading journals. Thank you so much, sir, for your consent and approval for this particular interaction. I'm very happy to have you on Import Hubs, and I was so mesmerized to see the work you have done so far, and it's really, really amazing. Please share with all the audience what is your journey so far.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anita, for this interview. And it's my pleasure to share some of my experiences, which I think junior researchers as well as researchers in different subject areas in different countries, especially in developing countries, might find it useful because they need to get motivated. So I would say that my journey started in academics after my PhD from IIT Bombay. But at that time, I was not really liking what is this PhD dissertation and research and all those kind of things, because when I was thinking about, I left my bank job. I was an officer with a public sector bank, my first job in India. And I left my bank job to do my PhD, and then I was not happy with the what people doing in the name of research. This was mainly because people are doing the same thing using some regression equation and some statistical software, some kind of analysis. I was thinking, how is it going to be useful for practice, or how is it useful for practitioners in real life? So I was not happy what people were doing in the name of research, and I was at that time I was not motivated to be a researcher, and I worked after my PhD 1.5 years. I worked as a training college faculty with a bank in India as well. My second job. So I was a faculty member, but I was a trainer, corporate trainer. So and after 1.5 years. I got a job with IIM Indore, Indian Institute of Management, and I went on to IIM. And IIM at that time was not research-oriented. IIM was teaching-oriented, and IIM was corporate training-oriented. There were a lot of corporate training. I was again a corporate trainer at IIM. I was conducting corporate training almost every week. I had enough opportunities to travel abroad because I was enjoying that, and I did a good job, and I was getting invitations. So but along with that, I published a few books when I was with IIM, and my first book, Business Environment, turned out to be bestseller in the very first year with 10,000 copy sales. And I was happy with. That was with a practitioner approach, because books and case studies and books are with the practitioner approach, and research papers lack practical approach to a large extent. Then I was thinking about. Then I was observing, or people were asking, why are you not writing journal papers? So because I didn't really write journal papers in the first 5 years after my PhD, because my attitude was that journal papers are not useful. But when I look at Europeans or Americans, they were all spending a lot of time to publish in academic journals, and at that time I was successful in India and South Asia, or India and Asia, and I had enough opportunities and as a trainer, as a professor too. But I was also, how do I contribute in long run? Research will help me to contribute in long run, but there are two types of research. Even at that point of time, initially I didn't know about different types of research. I used to think that only if you do structural equation modeling, or only if you do regression analysis with these days with common method bias, or those days with multicollinearity and those kind of things. Only if you do those kind of things, you can publish papers. That was the idea. That was the message given by senior professors at that time. So I knew only those kind of papers, empirical papers. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that I can contribute I can write useful papers, like I can build theoretical models or practitioner-oriented models, and there are those type of papers also. And later I started reading more. I got motivated, and I got at that time I got a job as an associate professor in Japan, and that time the remuneration salary level in India, including IIMs, were not at all comparable to the remuneration in foreign universities. My package I got from Japan was 10 times more than what I was getting at IIM. So, but these days IIMs have very attractive scheme to recruit and retain faculty members. Then I worked in Japan I had a 4-year stint in Japan, so 3.5 years, almost 3 years and 9 months. And in Japan, they were encouraging case writing. They had given importance for case writing because they were talking about creating Japan's Harvard University, working with Nagoya University in Japan, and then had enough opportunities to travel and attend for conferences, because Japanese university used to give a lot of funds for presenting research papers in conferences. And I went to attend the conference in the US and Pennsylvania, and I met with a lot of American professors, and then I got motivated to think about working in the US, or moved to the US was to University of Washington in Seattle. So I got a offer as a faculty member, but that was not directly given with the tenure or permanency, but I was given an offer with a 2-year contract at University of Washington. So salary was, remuneration, everything was good. And then they told me that within 2 years I have to publish so many papers in so and so journals. Mm-hmm. If you want to continue here, otherwise we cannot renew your contract. Okay. And because most of the American universities are very strict in terms of research and publications in premier journals, so they don't really care. I would like to say that they don't really care whether it is practitioner-oriented research papers or papers with quantitative analysis or whatever. So they just care, have you published in these journals? This is the condition they're asking for. So I was given tough mandate of publishing within 2 years in so and so journals. It was tough because before that I was a teacher, was a trainer, was a book writer, was a case study writer. So, but I was not into much of journal papers. So 2004, I got my PhD. 2004 to 2010, I was not really a hardcore researcher I did not try to publish in academic journals.
Oh my God, okay.
About 6 years after my PhD, because I had a different kind of mindset. I was thinking that these academic journals are not that useful. These are not really practice oriented. So there is a clear gap between research and practice. I had that kind of mindset. Maybe you can call it as attitude or mindset, whatever, or kind of mental block. But it was necessity in American system to survive and succeed. It's not only necessity. I also found that if you publish in academic journals, you have opportunities in America or Europe or Australia or wherever. So and I sensed that, and a lot of people also asked me to do that, and then I tried to stop writing textbooks or any other kind of books, because in American system or European or Australian system, they don't count textbooks when they recruit or promote faculty members. I started writing research papers. I spent all my time to write research papers, and last 10 years, 2011 to 2011 December, I moved to University of Washington, and then 2 years mandate to publish within top journals was tough, and because journals are very slow, some of the journals take time, So I was not given 5-year time because I had gone there at middle level, associate professor equivalent level. If I had gone there as assistant professor equivalent level, I would have got 5 years time to publish or target. So I did not have that time. So I had only 2 years time. I could not succeed very well within 2 years, and then after a year, I was thinking about I had a permanent job with IIM. I had a permanent job in Japan, so in University of Washington, my job was not really, it should have been permanent, but at the same time, there was some element of risk. In American system, 50% of jobs are contractual. So it's renewable, but it's different from Europe or Australia or India. So in any case, I worked very hard. Then I published a couple of papers in some tier 2 global journals. A couple of them were good. So then in the meantime, I was also looking. I already had 3 years experience as associate professor in Japan. So which means if I go to a tier 2 university, I can become full professor. So then I tried to publish, and then I also looked for another opportunity because as a foreigner in America, in order to live in America, I need an American green card. So you need to have a permanent job to get an American green card. Otherwise, sometimes, so it could be also challenging. So I was also same time looking for a job with stability, and then University of Puerto Rico hired me permanently with a full professorship, and because I had enough records as a author of a best-selling book, and even my case study, Louis Vuitton in Japan, Ivy case study was already bestseller. So showing all those, I got full professorship within an American setup, but government university in America, which is not as glamorous as University of Washington, but which helped me to do my research, and which helped me to publish and my assignment with University of Puerto Rico. I got it mainly in the PhD program and MBA program, and teaching in PhD program help you to focus on research. And after that, last 8 years, I published a lot of papers, and I try to focus on practitioner-oriented research, and I developed some models which are these days considered as useful for practitioners as well. One is 7P framework for international marketing. So this is an original 7P. It is focusing on performance is equal to...
I was about to ask about the 7P framework, which is kind of very popular these days. And we use this in our classroom teaching as well.
So, I also developed a CPP model for internationalization of firms, and I also developed mass teach model and mass teach theory for brand management. So my focus, I had a kind of inclination to develop something useful for practitioners as well. It's not only for hardcore research for the sake of doing. So I have 4 models or 4 theories which I can claim that which I developed. So I'm proud of those theories or models. It takes time, so it might take 5 more years for me to get more acceptance, because people accept those kind of new and novel models and theories very slowly. Academia moves very slowly.
I now want to know more about your editorial role in the Journal of
Consumer Studies. Yeah. So currently, I was appointed as chief editor of International Journal of Consumer Studies. I do have a lot of responsibilities and opportunities as part of this job, because International Journal of Consumer Studies is ranked as an accredited journal with about 1,000 submissions a year, which means I get 4 or 5 papers every day. And this is a 45-year-old journal which considers manuscripts from all over the world related to consumers. It's a very interdisciplinary that way. So, and it has marketing focus, but at the same time, papers relating to consumers in any sector in any industry can be submitted, and people do submit, and we select about, the maximum papers we can select in a year is about 70 or 75. So approximately the acceptance rate is 7 or 8% or 7 or 7.5%. Yeah.
So is there any strategy to keep yourself engaged in a more positive way? Like, what do you do other than research and editorial job?
After I have taken over this journal, my time is limited. My professional career, or my this current phase that I just moved 3 months ago as editor of this journal is completely different from what I was before. So I have a different life now. I have to be with that rhythm. For example, desk rejection. My policy, or after I have taken over, I formulated some policies for the journal. Desk rejection need to be within 3 days.
Okay.
So my policy is that the manuscripts come to me in case I'm desk rejecting it, and I will give reasons for that, and it will be within 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And also we ensure the reviews within 2 months without fail. We follow it up with the reviewers. There won't be any single case within the National Journal of Consumer Studies where reviews will be delayed more than 2 months. It will be within 2 months.
Okay, so this journal is kind of giving an assurance that if it is desk rejected, 3 days, and then in 2 months you will have the final conclusion.
Yes.
Good. I'm very happy to hear this, because I know how painful this process is to wait for the results as well on the other side. And
it's painful because as an author, I have suffered, my paper got rejected many times.
And how many rejections you experienced in your career so far?
I'll tell you the numbers. I do have approximately 76 or 77 papers in Scopus Index journals, and I do have approximately 58 papers in SSCI Index journals, and I do have at least 37 or 38 in A or S-star ranked journals in Australian ABDC list. So out of all these papers, to publish all these papers, total number of rejections I have received is more than 500.
Okay.
So approximately 10 times rejections. So it means each paper has gone through at least 8 or 9 times rejection.
So I think your experience is going to be very helpful for all potential researchers, just to learn that rejection is a part and parcel of your life if you are a scholar, and we need to learn the coping mechanisms of these rejections, and there is no shortcut to success. So I think this is really a good number validation to the scholars to understand that it's going to happen and we have to deal with it.
We have to deal with it, and then the best solution is submit very next day to the next journal. Don't delay it. Don't delay your next submission. A journal rejects it, submit the very next day.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.